In one of those moods.
Hit the button.
One of those moods. Good morning. Happy Friday, HubSpot Nation, LinkedIn friends, YouTubers, wherever you are. We are excited to have another episode of Let's Build AI Skills with Nico, George, and Chris. How are you fellas doing today? It is April 25th, 2025.
It is. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm doing good, but I'm reminded this morning as we got ready for this show, this meme that I saw on social, and it's like it shows this like pictures of a human's eyes, and it's like on weed, and then this one below it is on heroin, and then the one is like just totally gnarled and masked up. It's like trying to keep up with the AI. Sometimes I feel like that, like, oh my God, this craziness, but I'm doing good, and I'm excited to be here to have a great conversation this morning.
Yes. I mean, thank you, audience, for just being around so we can share whatever's on our mind as we start to dive in. And this is how we cope with keeping up.
Yeah.
And hopefully how we do that can help you as well, because we know you're out there trying to do the same thing, leverage all these magnificent, abundant tools.
It's a good word, abundancy. There is an abundancy of what tools there are and what you can do with those tools.
Yeah. And I think the biggest one, I mean, really my only measurement as to what the biggest one is for the week is how many messages Nico sends about it in the Slack. This week it is a new video, some new video capabilities. So I'll just let you dive right in, Nico.
Yeah. So I last week I don't even want to say reluctantly, but sort of reluctantly, I guess, signed up for Google's AI Studio, and it's been nice. I just this week I was like, I don't know, because really the only thing that was really super nice about it was deep research, and 2.5 is really nice, and like the deep research is really great, but you can also use it on free. So if I just like taper myself, then it should be no big deal. And then all of a sudden they decided to release VO, VO2, I should say. So VO is Google's video model, and I don't know, it's just crazy to me, because the quality is so very, very good. Even if you've used Sora or Runway, you will be amazingly impressed by like how, I would say how simple an input, but you'll see how complex it got real fast. But you can actually use like simple inputs and get like really, really nice outputs from it. So yeah, I've been playing around with that. It's been really difficult not to. And in playing around with it, I did some like early on, like really simple prompts with it. And just tried like some simple stuff. This was one that I found like super interesting because of the fact that they're clearly training it on YouTube video, because that's absolutely the UI and everything from the game, right?
From World of Warcraft?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So very cool, right? And like super cool idea for like a boss and maybe for like the armor and everything. But like, yeah, maybe you don't want to, take that kind of stuff out. So what I started doing was using GPT to help me do some of the visual descriptions for stuff. And I actually have a visual description project set up. It's what I use for Sora and for Runway, for doing like any sort of stock video stuff. And when I started out with like really long, sort of drafty, language heavy descriptions, and they were all right, but it wasn't giving me the control I wanted. And so these are 8-second clips. And with 8 seconds, it's really tough to tell GPT, hey, I need something that is like within 8 seconds that does this. Because it doesn't know it doesn't really understand time at all. So it'll just throw a bunch of stuff in there. Right. So what does help though is if you have a measure for something, if you can give it a way to measure time. Vine. most of you weren't around to even remember what Vine was. Vine was before TikTok, well before TikTok. It was before Instagram. Um, it was just after Twitter had launched, I think. And it was this platform where you could only make 6-second videos. That's it. And some of the most creative stuff came out of it, but that was the limitation. So I thought to myself, like, okay, well, if I just tell GPT and tell my visual designer that I just need Vine videos, then it'll understand what it is I'm trying to do, and it'll be able to break it down in that short format. So that's exactly what I ended up getting. And even though it's 6-second video and it's 8-second total on VO, you're only dragging 2 seconds, and based on whatever you're ending with, it's not that big of a deal, right? Or you can just add in your own timing for what happens in those last 2 seconds. But either way, gives me what I need in terms of like the direction, and then also the stylization for lighting, camera type to use, all of that kind of stuff. And so putting that all through Gemini just got some like really, really cool, different, like, so this was, just GPT's like, hey, come up with something interesting that like maybe you haven't seen before visually per se. So it was kind of interesting, neat design for like sci-fi figure. And then I wanted to start seeing like more realistic stuff, like how real could it get, right? And I thought this was awesome for like basically like B-roll. If you were doing something with a movie and you needed like background action or something like that to happen, it wasn't all that great. Obviously, with the character in front, you could see that like there's still a little like mashing with the hand going on and stuff like that. But again, like for the background of everything and like the accuracy of the buildings, and there's like the flag is like waving in the wind a little bit. The stoplight, it's kind of messed up, but it's there. It's representative, right? You probably don't notice it the first go around. I thought it was pretty good for accuracy. And then I wanted to see like super close up. Like, what does it look like when we're doing super close ups? Like, can we do macro shots and stuff like that? So this was like really nice to be able to see no distortion happening on the face as the camera's moving around, because that would have been like something where it's like, wow, you can't even keep like skin in the same position as you're like rotating per se. And finally, design. So I wanted to see what it would be like if we did an ad, right? And so that last 2-second trail, I think, is where the lettering goes awry a bit, right? So if you cut it at that 6 seconds, you've got a perfect 6 seconds 6-second pullback ad to a fragrance, right? Now the video itself is not the greatest, and like her having a little bit of 5 o'clock shadow on there, also like not the greatest, but again,
reality, brother. Some have.
That's
some
also
have to
true.
deal with that.
That's also true. So yeah, I thought it was just really interesting. Not just pretty interesting in terms of the world of like where we go with ad design. And I don't know if you guys have seen it, but Gamma now has the not only the GPT image, but it has fast image as well, which is not, I'll say right out the gate, not good with text, but with the image, it's very good at doing it. So if you're just trying to like generate images quickly, you can do that. But I've also noticed that GPT image has gotten like even better at text. So I don't know necessarily, I mean, training, I imagine, but yeah, so I've been having a ton of fun per se. And by comparison, I can honestly say Runway V3 is great, but it actually requires a image to start off with. Like, you can't just straight prompt to video with it, which I thought was really odd by comparison to like Sora and VO. So if I'm having to like stack rank them, yeah, you're gonna have to work a little bit with VO, but I would probably put it like the top of the list, put Sora right underneath it, and then probably move on to Runway 3, assuming that because with that, you kind of have to go threefold, right? You'd have to go from GPT to maybe Midjourney or Firefly or something to make like or even Runway to make the static image, and then back into Runway in order to use that for the video. So there's this AI collaboration that happens.
Right. Is this just text to video, or can we add images?
No, this is straight text to video. Right now you can't add images to it yet.
Okay.
As a source, but yeah, what for just straight text to video, I think it's probably less than that.
Right.
For Google, I don't know.
I mean, this is. Can we just take a minute to like? This is amazing, right? This is an amazing world to be in right now.
Oh my God!
Right.
Like the possibilities are endless. Like I'm sitting here thinking, because by the way, I was over here trying to play around with it as you were talking, and like I was able to make this, and I don't have like the paid version, so I just had like a couple times to like try it. But I was able to make this like cartooned guy run and the same cartoon guy fly, and like you could easily piece together, you know, a 30-second, 45-second, 1 minute thing, getting something to do different actions, and then as an editor, taking it into an editor and then doing other stuff to it. Just like, look, I'm what 10 minutes into it, 7 minutes into it, and I'm like, ooh, there's like,
like, can you
this time code, that'd be interesting.
Have you tried to extend? Like, can you make another 8-second version that would go right after this?
Not yet.
Okay.
Like you'd have to prompt for it, but if you I guess if you, I don't want to say know what you're doing or something like that, but I guess it's possible per se that like you could like prompt in a row if you kept some of the prompt the same, right? So like if it was, and that's probably going to keep it limited. So like if you were doing an interior scene, you'd probably want to keep the crux of the interior or the description of the interior the same while you're changing like the action and the camera movement and stuff like that, versus doing it like where like Sora and stuff like that, you actually have like seating and you can just hold on to what you were doing last.
Okay.
But I think it'll get there. That is an advantage that Runway has, is that you can keep it consistent throughout.
Right.
But I see it being a case where, you know, I mean, there already is. There's a ton of AI short videos out there, and they're actually pretty decent. And I can already see it that like by the end of the year, we're gonna have like AI channel, like AI shows on like YouTube channels. Like 15 and like half-hour shows for sure. It didn't get the color right, but
like my brain goes to the fact of like, think of like Notebook LM plus something like this, you know, equal and 11 labs and the 2 voices that you actually want, and then like literally it's a 15 to 30 minute video podcast all based on like technologies woven together, or somebody just does what Gamma does and revolutionizes and be like, hey, create this with this one tool because we've hooked into these 17 APIs and blah blah. Like
it's a whole new world,
man.
That should be our theme song, but we'd probably get copyright strikes.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, now I just I look forward to when we stop trying to use it for ads.
Yeah, right. Because like this is the next wave, right? I know that you know that HubSpot is going to have this built in some way very soon, right?
Yeah.
As soon as it gets like, as soon as the video gets tight enough to be as close to accurate as like GPT images, you're going to see it flood through every CRM.
Right.
And I was listening to, oddly enough, I was listening to a podcast this morning that was talking about actually it was a video that I sent you guys about the quantum shift in marketing and how marketing is going to change through AI and like what that does. And even in that video, it was like the discussion was about, you know, working with multiple tools and not just being like this, siloed like AI manager. That was another podcast that came out this morning, talked about something that I've talked about for months now, which is that the shift that people think is coming, where it's like you're going to be, your job is going to get replaced. It's like it will, but it will get replaced by an agent, and you will be the manager of that agent. So that's how it works in the future, as opposed. So like, and what that does is the same thing it does for sales, the same thing it does for everybody else. Frees you up from the minutia of the heavy lifting of the clicking and the typing, and allows you to be creative, to come up with the cool ad ideas, to come up with, the cool sales pitches, to come up with the cool decks, to do all of the stuff that you want to spend more time doing, right? Yeah. It's kind of like if you run a restaurant. Most people that run a restaurant, they just love to cook. They don't love doing invoicing. They don't love going after customers. They don't love doing advertising. They don't love any of that. They just love taking care. They love taking care of inventory and cooking. And if they had an agent to take care of the heavy lifting of doing all of that, boy, imagine, right? So that's what we're talking about here. I was talking to my wife this morning, and last thing I'll throw in there, because I'll let you guys go nuts on this last one. Talking to her this morning because a new demo came out for, or not a new demo, but a new video came out. Wish I could remember the name of the robot. There's almost too many of them at this point. It's the one that, like, it's got the super smooth face with, looks like it's wearing clothing. I'm not really sure why they have it. It was on a TED Talk very recently, this past week, and was telling my wife that, like, hey, they're already doing, apartment testing. True, it's with the robot scientists and everything like that, but they are already doing that real life testing. They put it through the NVIDIA systems, which basically can train like 10,000 virtual robots and do a lifetime of physical labor in 15 minutes in this virtual environment, right? So and why? Because it's one bot that, let's say, is doing warehouse movement. Okay. One bot that does, squatting, then another one that does this other position, the other one that does this other thing, on and on and on and on. All the different movements you would take in a warehouse, boom, all at the same time. Matrix. That's what we're talking about. Plug this chip in, bot knows what to do. Okay. So the training and all that's kind of starting, and the testing and all that's kind of starting. I'm saying year end, you're going to see some sort of MTV Cribs, Lifestyle, The Rich and Famous, something of celebs that have these things in their home. And then you're going to start seeing Martha Stewart's and stuff like that. And you're going to start seeing Oprah's, and you're going to start seeing Jimmy Kimmel's, and they got it in their home, or they're bringing it out on stage, right? Somebody's going to have it as like a stagehand, right? They're going to have it as like a co-pilot to their show, right? By the end of the year, guys, by the end of next year, I will bet you money that by the end of next year, you will lose the bet if you think that you won't have one in your home.
So here's when we know we've arrived. When we're sitting down to watch TV and Exhibit has a pimp my bot, like then we know we've arrived. We've because there's an old bot that needs to be pimped out and dressed up. Like, anyway.
Man, so many ways we could go with this right now. So whenever you guys want to turn this back on every day, I'm willing, because that's the only way in hell we're going to get to all the stuff we want to talk about. But the thing this is like the perfect handoff. I think your second to last point, Nico. Like this transition from doing the stuff to managing an agent. I have to imagine that, George, your talk that you're doing at Inbound.
Oh, I'm talking at Inbound?
Which is so interesting to see your talk in the sea of AI talks now that is focused on making superhuman marketers.
Yeah.
This is at the core of that, right?
Yeah. So it is funny or fun. Last year I did an AI talk, and AI was literally in the title. And this year made a conscious decision of, will I be talking about AI? Duh. But do I want that to be the lead in the title? No. And so we're talking about superhuman centric. Again, making up my own words, right? Superhuman centric marketing. And yeah, all of this is at the root of it, but it's like, how do you take the technologies that we have that, like we're talking about today, and how do you kind of bring them into the core of who you are, why you should be doing what you should be doing. And honestly leans into what Nico started to talk about, of like, that person loves to cook, right? What is it that you love? What is it is your purpose? What are you passionate about? Like it, because if you align the love, the purpose, the passion of the human or the business, then it's going to be persistent. And as soon as you get persistency in there and in the grit and the like long-term mindset, all of a sudden you start playing in different spaces, mind spaces and real spaces. And so yes, Chris, to what you're saying, you're
Yeah.
yeah.
And so I've gone from needing to build a bridge over this gap to that at some point there will not be a bridge. There's just going to be a jump. Like, and we're going to be on the other side, and you will not be able to get back to the other side where you came from. And if you're still over there, like, you're done. Right.
Well,
And
yeah.
or you just fall into the gap likely, and then you got to climb out. Right. Because next week, like, I'm doing an unboxing session with Tango for the AI CRM admin. And these tools, like, if you thought SaaS was annoying, that you couldn't avoid it and it's being forced upon you, and it's like, why do I even need to use it? Man, you're not gonna, AI is
Doesn't
different.
wait.
Like, you
Yeah.
haven't seen anything yet.
Oh,
And
man.
that's where I want to be empathetic when you talk about, both of you talk about, like, we want to enable what people love to do.
Yeah.
Right. But when you love to solve problems inside of a CRM related to the technical structure of the CRM, related to, is it plugged in? Did you restart it? All these, like, the closer we get to digital problem solving and data problem solving, like, if you love to do that, like,
Listen, I was talking to, I think it was Jorge, about the gap that is being created. You said something that's interesting. You said we want to enable them, right? I don't even know if that's what I want. I want them to enable themselves. Like, I want people who might bump across this by circumstance and they haven't been diving into real, like, they need to realize that this is maybe one of the most important decisions to embrace something that they'll and listen, I've embraced things that didn't work out. I bought a mini disc player because I thought mini discs were gonna be the future. So that, like, but trust me when I tell you, like, this is something that you should be learning, leaning on, leveraging. Like, it's not going back in the box. The magical things that you can do, the way that people are gonna engage. Like, I just did a video yesterday and put out on LinkedIn where I had my clone create and teach a course. Like, freaking wake up.
yeah. And it reminds me of the happiness pillar from Superhuman Framework that we did. Like,
Yep.
if you love something, like your work right now, and it makes you happy to dig in, and you don't want to talk to customers, you're not a people manager. That's what we're talking about. Even though you're gonna be managing an agent, you're gonna need to do that exactly like you would people manage, right? It's so similar. And if you're not there, and you like to just be in the weeds and be in the technical. And we're seeing this already in coding and all these spaces where it's just, you like to deal with language for the reasons that we don't like to deal with humans sometimes, because it's less ambiguous. It's ones and zeros, like it's input versus output, right?
Mhm.
We want to help you find a way to shift from that, because if you can't let go of that, you should just straight up start asking for help if you're not sure on what else could make you happy, right?
Right.
Which is like, though we try to say that this is going to be a skills-based show, it's so hard with AI as a transition. Like, it gets existential like real quick, right? And we're not trying to scare the shit out of you unless you need to be scared shitless in this situation to move, right? That's why we're not holding back. Like, I know I expect there to be some discomfort when I try to make it as loud as possible what this Tango tool is capable of, right? Because you need to be aware at the very least that some of these things that you pride yourself in being able to do faster than everybody else because you've been doing it for a long time, like, that's not going to be the value anymore.
Yeah. And Chris, I got to throw in here because you said it's uncomfortable. Listen, this is just a fundamental truth of life, is that the magic moments are after the discomfort. The valley is after the climb, right? And so you have to, like, you might be sitting here thinking like, well, it freaks me out, or it seems difficult, or I'm not techie. And by the way, that's just shit in your brain that you got to fix anyway. Like, that's negative self-talk if we're just being real. Like, get over it, get over yourself. You realize that you got to put in the reps, you got to do the work, you got to climb the mountain. But there's going to be magic moments that you'll reach in life that you never thought possible when you start to think about, how do I create this AI assisted team? How do I create this AI clone? How do I create this? How do I build? How do I? And then you start to ask yourself, is it possible? And then you find out, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So find those opportunities, folks. They're everywhere right now. And let's grow. Have a great weekend, everybody.